Hey, this is Cody with Our Life in Pixels, and recently I played the New World closed beta. Today I'm going to be talking about some of the things I experienced during my time playing the beta and how I think the game will do going forward. To start, let's set the stage for New World. You end up going on an expedition to a new land in the Atlantic. There's a new rare mineral there that you want, and on your way there, your ship is caught up in a storm and sunk, which causes you to wake up on the shore of this new land called Eternum. This seems to be how everyone before you arrived as well, and they have already set up settlements and split up into different factions, and they're already fighting over control of this new land. When creating a character in New World, there's no real restriction to what you can do. Normally, in an MMO, you have a class to choose when you create your character. Instead, Amazon decided to just give you the choice to dump skill points into a traditional RPG system. When you level up, you will get 3 skill points, and you can put them into categories like strength, dexterity, and focus. This will affect things like your health and proficiency with the different weapons in the game. There is zero restriction in your world, so you can wear what you want or wield whatever combination of weapons you wish. This isn't to say that there is no consequence to wearing heavy armor compared to light armor, but what if you want to wear heavy armor and wield a fire staff and an ice gauntlet? Go right ahead. There's no game mechanic stopping you from doing so. You are also allowed to master all 11 weapons and switch between them to your heart's content. The 11 different weapons in the game have led to a varied and interesting combat system. It is probably my favorite part of the game at this point. I've never been a fan of the traditional WoW, Warhammer Online, or Guild Wars style of combat. Smashing the same couple macro buttons for hours on end, grinding for gear, has never been something I've been particularly interested in. New World takes a different approach to combat, making it more interactive, forcing you to manage your stamina and mana like you would in a normal RPG or action adventure game. Things that tend to drain your stamina include dodging and using certain melee abilities, while using magic weapons such as the Fire Staff will reduce your mana. You also have the normal targeting system you see in older MMOs, but no matter what weapon you're using, you have to actually put a reticle over an enemy and swing your sword or fire your musket to hit someone. Just because you are locked onto a particular enemy does not guarantee a hit, and when you do hit an enemy, you don't have any secret dice rolls going on in the background like in other MMOs. You know the range in which you should damage your opponent, and your damage will show clearly on the screen. You are limited to wielding 2 different weapons at a time, but as I said before, you can switch between them at any point. Your choices may seem more limited as the game goes on though. The reason for this is that each weapon has 2 skill trees that you need to drop points into. These give you new skills, buffs, and other benefits. So if you have spent the majority of your playthrough with a hatchet and life staff, and you try to switch to something new, you will lose the advantage of all the levels you put into both of those weapons. As I said before though, you're still free to level up every weapon in the game at any time. I was not able to experience a lot of the higher level PvE stuff because I didn't get to level 25, but I did do some of the corruption events. The Corrupted are the PvE bad guys, and the events are quests that randomly spawn in territories that require players to band together to complete. Completing these rewards you with unique resources that you can't find anywhere else. If players ignore these breaches, the Corrupted in the area will become stronger, culminating in a full-blown invasion in which they will attempt to take over a territory settlement. This battle is similar to the PvP warfare that is available in the game, where the defending faction will have to defend their fort. I never saw a fort fall to the Corrupted, so I'm not sure what the after effects would be, but I do find it exciting that this is even something that can happen. While most of my time playing the game was PvE, I did dabble in the PvP component a bit. New World has a scaling system that makes PvP viable at any point in the game. So if I'm a level 60 and I'm fighting against a level 1 character, the game will properly scale us so it's an even fight. The advantage of being level 60 is the fact that I will have all my skills unlocked for my weapons, compared to the level 1 who has yet to have the same chance. This makes traveling the world flag for PvP something you do right away instead of being level gated. It also allows for more skill-based fights instead of being completely decided by gear. Outside of single PvP combat, I know they said there wasn't level gating, but there is a little bit of level gating when it comes to outpost rushes and wars that can be declared between the different factions. For outpost rush, you have to be at least level 50, and the warfare portion of the game normally comprises of higher level players. I didn't get a chance to experience these myself, but I have watched some gameplay, and they seem very hectic, and only the most organized companies, or what we know as guilds, are going to be able to take over sections of the map. Speaking of factions, there are currently 3 in the game: the Covenant, the Marauders, and the Syndicate. The Covenant is a holy order of some kind that I was not too horribly interested in, so I ignored them. The Marauders are a faction that believes in taking things over by force. Naturally, this faction attracted a lot of players in the beta with that mentality. Lastly, the Syndicate, which is what I picked, is the secretive organization that has NPCs running around with the old Plague Doctor masks. You are required to pick a faction early on in the game, and your faction will give you multiple missions. They will be split in between PvE and PvP, so you can choose whichever tickles your fancy at the time. Completing these missions will earn you a faction reputation, which you can then use to buy faction-specific gear. This is sometimes better than what you can actually make, but actually crafting your own equipment is always more satisfying. There are a few things that you have to buy from your faction to create, but other than that, you could probably totally ignore them and never really use the faction store. Unlike other MMOs, there is no restriction to what you can craft in the game. Want to become a master of the loom? Go ahead and make the finest clothes in the game. There are more things that you can craft, like the forge or leatherworking or any other, like, fantasy style crafting. You will have to go out and gather different mats for all these things, but this is very common in MMOs. I will say that Amazon has nailed the sounds for these, though, which actually makes gathering things not feel overly tedious and kind of fun. And on top of this, the environment that you get to explore is full of trees and brush, and it just feels really lived in. So it just feels like an actual world that is happening around you, and was one of the best parts of the experience for me. I did stop just to hang out and fish for a little while once I had a fishing pole, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. Outside of gathering things for yourself, though, you may be tasked with going out and getting things for the different settlements of the game. Players can come together and help improve the town by doing fairly simple quests. If players do enough, it will allow the town to upgrade in different ways. One of the main things that players made sure to upgrade were the different crafting stations. To craft some items, the station needed to be higher levels, so they turned into main missions for most of the factions that owned the towns. Overall, New World looks like it could be Amazon's first successful video game. I know some people are probably thinking that they should avoid it. After all, Amazon has released the game and then unreleased it, and on top of that, they had an issue where New World was melting $2,000 graphics cards. I have the specific 3090 that had the most issues and stayed away until I knew for sure it was safe to play. But I am really happy that I jumped back into it to try it again. While I am disappointed with yet another delay to the game, I do believe that this is going to be an awesome MMO, and I cannot wait for it to come out on September 28th.